Welcome to the Small Business Show. My name is Swire from Garuda Promo. Today, we're going to have another panel discussion, especially focusing on essential business, how we could focus on marketing and sales technology. Today, we have Michael Friedland from Shleppers, Dan Hansen from DG Collision, and AJ Shull, digital marketing expert from RevLocal. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Let's do a quick round of introduction. So to tell viewer who you guys are, let's start with you, Michael.
Well, I'm Michael Friedland. I own a moving business here called Shleppers, Moving and Storage. Shleppers started out in New York more than 40 years ago, and we have locations in Florida, New York, and here in Los Angeles. This is what I do on a daily basis, moving people from home to home and also interstate and providing storage solutions.
Okay, thank you. How about you, Dan?
I'm Dan Hansen. I'm the owner of DG Collision Center in Covina, California, and we're an auto body shop, and we specialize in collision repair.
AJ?
Thank you, Swire. So I'm AJ Shull with a company called RevLocal. I'm a digital marketing consultant, regional sales manager, and we are a digital marketing agency that helps small businesses be found better online through various platforms, but mostly through Google, social media, those platforms. Based out of Columbus, Ohio, which is where I'm originally from, and I was essentially the person who started it here in Los Angeles about 7 years ago. So I've been with them for 7 years and worked with many small businesses in between now and then.
Okay, my name is Swire Ho. I'm also known as the promo guy. Started the business about 17 years ago, and I wish that I knew we had this format a long time ago so I can get more idea, don't get into that many mistakes. That's why I decided to do the Small Business Show and have business experts to come in and share their ideas. So let's jump right into it. I know both Michael and Dan, you guys have an essential business. You've been operating for the past 2 months. So what have you seen that have worked for your business so far that you can share with the viewers?
I can start that off. Initially we weren't really affected because we had a pretty good workload. We had a month's worth of work, and after a few weeks, I could see that new work was diminishing, and we needed to change things up and get kind of creative. We were relying on people getting in accidents, and people don't drive, people don't crash. So I started to look outside the box and think about what people are concerned about with their car as far as appearance goes. We started marketing a cost-effective auto detail, just so we can get people in here. Gave us a chance to once they're here, offer more services like hey, what about this scratch that you have or this dent over here? And not only that, but it expands our customer base. We're meeting new people because they can come in at a relatively low cost.
Nice. What about you, Michael? What have you done so far?
Well, we've done a lot. Fortunately, like you said, we are an essential business, so we're allowed to stay operational, which was a blessing. I wondered when the stay-at-home orders began whether there would be any movement, and basically took a guess that there would be less local moving in LA during this time period, but that people moving out of state likely were not going to be derailed by the stay-at-home order to the same extent. So I refocused a lot of our marketing efforts. In this industry, you can actually buy leads. There are lead providers that sell leads to moving companies. And I changed the focus of a lot of our marketing to be on interstate moves rather than on local moves. Wow. And there has been, there's no shortage of people that are moving. There's always, I think I mentioned to Dan before we started, around 700,000 people moving out of California a year. So, wow. We're just trying to get our share of it and do an excellent job and do it a bit more safely. But that's probably been the main pivot that we made. And then another pivot that we made about a year ago for different reasons, has proven to be very valuable during this time, which is that we provide virtual estimates. And what I mean by that is that typically in this industry, the closing ratio on a lead is much higher when you can actually get in front of the customer. So an over-the-phone sale has a lower booking ratio than an in-person sale where you actually show up to the client's house, go through their inventory, go through the nuances of their move in their home with them, and then have an opportunity to make the sale person to person. So for many decades, the tried and true method of booking a move is to get into the customer's home and try to make the sale that way. So what I found in California versus our branch in New York, Shleppers is a well-known moving company in New York that does a lot of moves. In New York, Manhattan Island is very small. You know, an estimator can do many, many, many estimates in a day. But here, if you have one in Long Beach and one in Pasadena and one in Covina and one in Ventura, it just the model doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, it's just it's too big of a region. So then you could say, well, I could focus on a smaller region, but it's that it proved to be challenging too, and you have to pay for, you know, your estimator's mileage and the wear and tear on their car and tires and their time, and it just got to be very hard. So the pivot that we made about a year ago was to try to do more virtual estimates where we actually will walk through a customer's home with their phone, and we ask them to open up their drawers and their closets and, you know, basically tour us through the house. And, you know, those conversations are all recorded. And from that, we get a binding flat price. And so I did it for one reason about a year ago, but it proved to be very valuable today.
Yeah, you're right ahead of everyone.
Yeah, so that worked out very nicely. And also for COVID-19 distancing reasons right now, we don't have to send someone into the customer's home, which, you know, is you know, something that people are rightfully you know, cautious about right now.
That's perfect. How about you, AJ? Can you share some that you have seen, or, you know, if you like, you know, share some of what your clients have been doing that work for them?
Michael just hit it right on the head. Pretty much every industry now has been forced to go online in some way or form, and most businesses already were, but the big shift that we've seen for a lot of industries, even auto body, auto repair, is offering some kind of video consultation, video estimating, something like that, concierge services, basically trying to find a way to eliminate that face-to-face interaction as much as possible, or keep that distance. Even in the medical field, telemedicine has gone through the roof. It was something that's been around for quite some time, but people just never really were forced to have to do it. Now it's the way, if you want to operate, there's certain medical industries or medical fields that still aren't even allowed to practice right now. So the only way that they can do things is via video conferencing. So there's various different ways you can do it, but leveraging some kind of online platform to do things, you know, via video versus trying to force a person-person face-to-face interaction.
Yeah, I think by talking to a lot of business owner, you know, technology does help, and especially if, you know, like Michael, he jumped onto the trend way before what happened. You know, obviously give him an advantage. And what I've seen so far is before we have competitor who have big offices, big warehouse, but right now they're forced to close. So a lot of us, you know, majority of us are still working from home. So if you do have your workflow and your IT and your technology getting ready in place, so right now we could appear to be better than our competitor because they don't have their warehouse. We're all sitting from home. You know, some of them can't even print their printer or have the same capacity when they work from a big office. So I think there are advantages, you know, for small business because we maneuver much quicker. If you have a big company, sometimes you have a lot of things in place. You might not be able to move as quickly as possible. For a salesperson standpoint, you know, what I've seen so far is before we'll have gatekeepers, we'll have a lot of secretary that block my call. No one wants to talk to me. But right now, they're not with the boss right now. So when I actually make my prospecting call, I'm actually able to dial at the right person that I want to talk to, and they pick up within 2 dials because they've been sitting at home for for too much, and they actually wanted to talk to someone who are able to, not to sell them, but to share ideas and, see, just check in and see how they're doing. So I did find that different and work to my advantage, by being on the phone and start calling people.
Swire, do you normally work from an office, or has it affected your business that you're not with people, or can you prospect from anywhere with a phone and a computer?
Well, for the past 7 years, I actually work from home, so
Okay.
I'm very efficient with what I have in this room right now. Basically, we can operate anything remotely with the cloud, with third-party supplier, and then with
Right.
technology. So while some of my competitors are scrambling to try to reset up their computer, I'm actually working more efficiently. While this all is happening, while they're scared, they're hiding, I'm actually gain customers throughout all this craziness that happened, because we have been working from home. We know what it takes to work from a small base with just basically a computer and a phone. We
Right.
can run a business that way. But a lot of people are relying on other things that they have. They might not have the luxury to have access to them right now.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of IT guys getting pretty good business for going remotely.
Yeah, that's actually
one other challenge that I've talked to different IT professionals is that sometimes we use our home computer to play video games, or we might do whatever that we do at a home computer. But now you're bringing all your work home, so your computer station might already be compromised, and you might be accessing sensitive information on your home computer. So a lot of headache for them, and there's a lot more activity for cybercrime, and then also for hackers.
Well,
because
this would be a good time to let our audience know that I also have a side business of selling VPNs.
okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, yeah,
Something great
that's
to use
another
during
thing.
Yeah.
this time.
Well, let's jump on to another question. I think this, obviously related to both of you, because you have people who are actually moving for you, Michael, and then people who actually come to your place of service for their car. And no matter what you deal with that, and we still in LA County, we have we are encouraged to have a face mask, but depending on some people don't believe it, some people stand by it, and you guys might have to be the police at your place of business. So what have you guys done so far in terms of customer safety, safety for your employees, and then anything in between? Can you share a little bit about that?
Well, I also implemented a photo app estimate, or a photo estimating app, where we'll send people a link to this app. They'll download it. It'll walk them through the photo estimating process, and then our system will get the photos, and we can do an estimate and send it to them. Now, when they come in, we're operating on all the CDC guidelines. We're wearing masks. We're cleaning. Cars are sanitized on intake, and again on delivery. And most people are wearing their masks to begin with, and most people are comfortable with that. And some people are feel like it's an infringement on their rights. And I, and I'm not here to say what's right or wrong, but the safety of our crew and our other guests are really important. So if someone comes and they say, "Oh, I don't have a mask," I say, "Oh no, it's okay. We'll just go outside and look at your car, and I'll walk in and do the estimate." Or if you don't mind, we can just converse outside, and most people are cool with it.
Okay. How about you, Michael? You guys are moving sometimes out of state, and so different policy, different thinking about all this.
Well, I would say the main policy change, I mean, obviously there's, CDC guidelines in terms of wearing masks. So all of our guys have masks and gloves when they actually can. Sometimes they're lifting things that make using, plastic gloves impractical. But they wear, other gloves anyway, just to protect their hands during moves. we also clean the trucks every day and wipe down the steering wheels in between jobs with, Clorox wipes. And, basically just have social distancing good practices. There are certain times where the guys have to get close to each other just to lift things that are pretty heavy.
Mhm.
But, for the most part, we're just trying to follow the guidelines as best as possible, stay as far away from each other as possible, and, stay clean.
How about you, AJ? What have you heard from dealing with clients, and do you still go out and meet clients?
Great question. So I would say end of March, all of April, we completely pulled away from that. We essentially had to, if we wanted to stay in business. Now, because we are nationwide, there are some markets that were a little more lax than others. So they had different rules to play by. But one thing that we did is the company sent out RevLocal branded face masks for all the consultants. So you can, if you do choose to go out in person, then you're following the CDC guidelines. So that was the first thing we did. And then just an overall training company-wide with how we need to do things now. So most of, hence our name, what we've always really prided ourselves on is being local, being real, being face-to-face. And that was essentially, in a way, taken away from us. That was one of our main selling points in our industry. That's not really, there's not a lot of businesses that really emphasize the fact that you have somebody real to talk to. So we had to shift that narrative. We still emphasize that we are local, but we are going to respect business owners and their employees' requests. So if they want to do things over the phone, it's not really that hard for us because we are mostly online. But if somebody does want to meet in person, we just had an in-person meeting just yesterday. We met outside at like a public table, and everybody had their masks on, and you can just kind of hand a tablet over to have them look at what we're seeing or talking about, and it works just fine. But really, just it's up to the person you're speaking to. I think that's a big thing that everybody has to be mindful of, whether or not you feel like your rights are being infringed upon or not being respected. You also have to respect the other person you're talking to. And I think it's safe to assume for this next year, at least, there's going to be a lot of people that are living in fear, and rightfully so. So if they want to keep a mask on, if they want to meet over the phone or not in person, you got to live by that.
Yeah, I think it's just being open. We could believe, we have our own belief, and if we respect each other, I think that we will avoid a lot of conflict. It's maybe I believe in something, you have completely 100, 80% degree, and I'll still respect you as a person, and then we just stay on topic and maybe not talk about things that you get into a big fight.
Right. Yeah, we're definitely here to make people feel comfortable patronizing our business.
Yeah.
You're not arguing over politics and religion?
No.
No. But to talk about cars, you're more simple, just focusing on cars. You could be whatever belief that you have, but you both like cars, then stick with that topic.
Right.
What are some of the things that you learn both in personal experience and also in your business that you are willing to give it a try or implement after all this is over? It could be anything that you've learned within all the madness and all the pandemic that's going on around us.
For us, we've learned that in this situation, it's really important to keep an open mind and broaden your spectrum as far as what you're able to do and what you're able to provide. Be the best you can be. That's going to stand out no matter what. I mean, you could be selling masks on the street, but if they're the best masks and you're putting forth your best foot, you're going to do better than the guy who is selling masks to make a buck. You know what I mean? Just, masks are hot, I'm going to do it, So for us, we have morning meetings and we've decided that we're going to do our best. Any customer that comes in right now is like gold for us, and they're treated like that. So that's been kind of our takeaway. Obviously the creative ways to market, reaching out to people that you normally wouldn't, we're doing house calls to do estimates. If people are like, oh, I don't want to download the app, what can I do? I mean, I'll just go to their house with my mask and gloves and take pictures and then email them an estimate. And that's actually worked for us a few times. So we're just, doing our absolute best. And I think that even after all this clears up, we're going to continue with that.
Yeah, I think
AJ?
there was a sportscaster, talking head that I listened to, and this was about a month ago when we were really in the peak of this, but it was something that really hit heart to me, is that he said, if you have the ability to work, if your business is allowed to operate, whether it's online, in person, it's essential business, whatnot, you owe it to America to do that. Like, people right now, the issue that we have is, people are dying, obviously, but this has completely crippled most economies across not only the United States, the world. So if you have a way to contribute, whether that's online or in person, and you can actually do it, like, do your part. And I never really thought about that before this happened. Like, we all just kind of get into the inertia of our day to day, and you just do what you do, and that's it. But it really just opened my eyes to how important it is, if you can operate a business right now, just doing your part, helping somebody, helping your community. If you're able to hire people during these times, a lot of people are looking for work. Anything like that. Like, if you can contribute in whatever way, do it, because everybody's feeding off of that. Just seeing that you're open for business is inspiring to a lot of people right now, giving them hope.
I agree.
Michael?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I would echo a lot of that. Shleppers is not my only business experience. I've been a businessman for 22 years, mostly in commercial real estate. But at one point, I was an investor in a brand of gin and many other ventures. And what I would say is, one of the nice things about being entrepreneurial and owning a small business is the ability to pivot quickly. And it's like when the market's hot, lend. When the market is dying, it's go long. So basically what I've enjoyed about this period is the challenge of trying to meet dynamic needs. Like I said, it was only 2.5 months ago that I'm wondering to myself, and I have an essential business moving, right? But how many people are really going to be moving? That was a question mark, right? I wondered whether everyone would just stay put and there just wouldn't be, any movement in the market. And even though I'm allowed to stay open, there wouldn't be any revenue coming through. So I tried always, like all of us, to make changes according to the playing field. And it is rewarding that my business is doing fine. We're very, very busy every day. And sort of echo what AJ was saying, when you look at a P&L of your business at the end of the month, one of the most rewarding parts of it is to look at your labor cost and not only think of it as an expense or a cost of goods sold in my case, but to realize that labor expense is tied to people's livelihood. Right. So,
Yeah.
Every dollar that you're bringing in and paying out in labor is, a crew, or multiple crews that are working each and every day. And, it's motivating to try to keep the economy going and keep your business going and keep people employed and help everyone put food on the table by keeping your business going.
Yeah, I think what I've learned, and I've confirmed with all three of you, is the use of technology, because like you said, before I have to drive, sometime it's 2 hours to and from, in LA, anywhere, like in 10 miles. So, but right now, I feel clients are more open to technology. Now I could do a Zoom meeting and do a good presentation with I have three of you, and I could present it to the entire organization within a online meeting right now, and then I could be more effective. I could show them pictures of my product. I could be as persuasive as I'm in person, and I don't have to travel. And now people are open to it after 2 months. I still see people who are not used to it, but then they're kind of forced to do that right now because that's only really a good way of meeting. So I think the trend is going to continue. We're going to have more online meeting. I'm actually meeting people outside of the United States right now. I'm able to jump on any English-speaking country to do my same presentation and meet the same people. And I think I'm glad that I've been in the Chamber of Commerce, and I met all of you at BNI. I have been an active BNI member for like 4 years right now, and I'm glad that I did that because right now, during the past 2 months, I have a lot of requests. I didn't know who to reach out to. I think like you said, then be the best at in your business, and people will notice. I know exactly who to reach out to right now with collision, with moving, with logo search marketing, or plumbing. Anything that I do with CPA, I know exactly who to reach out to, and I became a resource for my client because they're confused. They're staying home right now. Who do you know that can fix a roof? And we have a big leak right now. We can't go on 5 people, and I know exactly who it is. And this was mentioned to me by the CEO for Claremont Chamber, Randy Lopez. I became a conduit in networking. So I have access to a lot of business professionals, and you kind of have to go through me to reach all the professionals. So it now becomes the conduit for all my clients. So now I become the resource. If we wanted to expand a business, we might reach out to Swire. He might know a payroll person, or he might know the professional that being to. And I'm sure that you guys do a lot of resource too. So I think becoming the resource during this time is very important to my client. Not only I'll sell them whatever that I want to sell to them, but then we can also have a conversation if they wanted to grow a business. And that's how we want to position ourselves. We want to be a consultant, be actually a partner with your business, not just some one-off transaction and then we're done. So I think
it solidifies your relationship with them.
Yeah. And I think for all of you guys too, for Dan, maybe you crash your car, you fix it, but you can only make their car look 10 times nicer. And Michael, you can always help them with consulting how to move properly. So we provide a value to our client. I think people see it more and rely on it more during this time.
Yeah. Well, I think what you were also just touching on is adding value, right? Because for a lot of us, we have products or services that their perceived value is often that they're pure commodities, right? So when people are shopping for pure commodities, they're often very sensitive to price.
Lower price wins.
Right. That all they think about is price. So, how do you combat that? You have to combat it through perceived value and actual value. And the perceived value is often a function of the actual value. So for instance, at Shleppers, things that I've thought of over the years to differentiate what we offer from other moving companies. So we forward your mail. Right.
Nice.
So someone's moving, we forward your mail for you. You have utility bills. We'll switch over your utility bills for you. These things save your time. You just think to yourself, what is someone who's going through the process of moving inevitably going to encounter as a challenge? If someone's moving across the country, they might need auto transport. So we have relationships with auto transport companies to help people get, excellent and fast service on getting their autos transported. Box deliveries. There's many things that are ancillary and predictable to the moving process that if you can add those things as a part of your offering, you're differentiating yourself from someone who's doing the bare minimum. So, I think anytime you can do something that adds value, that sets you apart from your competitor or your competitors, as adding value, as caring more, as being conscientious, those things all increase the value of your your, well, they do in fact increase your value, but they also increase the perceived value, and that's very important when you're in a business that is perceived to be a commodity product or service.
Yeah, you don't never want to be the cheapest. Like if there's someone's cheaper than you, then you you
Right.
own it.
It's a problem.
It's a losing battle.
That's right.
Yeah, we oftentimes lose customers when our estimates are too low because of
Really?
perceived value.
Yeah,
and-
that Dan, I just want to say that there's a great book. If people haven't read it, it's called Influence. It's a classic book on marketing psychology by Robert Cialdini. And in one of the first chapters, there's a story about a husband and wife, and they own a jewelry shop on some island, and they have a beautiful necklace in the window, and it's not selling. And it's been in the window for a long time, and lots of people have walked by it and seen it, and it's not selling. So they say, we need to move this thing. You know, this is stale inventory. It's just sitting here. So what do? They drop the price, right?
Right.
And what happens? It sits and sits and sits and sits. So then they're like, we really need to move this. What can we do? And they finally determined that the low cost of the piece of jewelry was convincing people that it was not of any value, because we all have a shortcut, a mental heuristic that there's a correlation between price and value. So what do? They raise the price above the original price, and then people perceive it to be valuable.
Right.
And it sells.
Okay, I'm raising my pricing today.
I was gonna say we're all raising our prices.
Well,
No
I
more
think
cheap estimates.
there's always something to be said for, trying to get your margin as high as you possibly can. Sometimes there's a worthwhile trade-off of having, every customer has a cost. There's the cost of marketing to get that customer. If you can decrease your volume, but increase your margin, for instance, in moving, for a long time, I had a very high margin moving business doing tiny little local moves, $300-400 jobs. There's no shortage of those, and they're very high margin. The problem is your truck is still taking the same risk, and that crew is taking the same risk to pick up $300 as it would to go do a $3,000 job.
Mhm.
Right.
So, going after, and that $3,000 job might be a slightly lower margin, but the gross profit is well worth, far more worth it than doing tiny little jobs where, again, your trucks are, I don't have to tell you, in the collision center business, when your trucks are on the road, there's risk.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you're taking risks that are worth it.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I want to be conscious of your time, so let's stay positive. So if I would ask you to give one encouragement of things to do for essential business out there, can you think of one advice, and then we will end this conversation today?
Sure. I guess I'll start that. Just being on the marketing side of it, it's communicate now more than you. I don't think you can over communicate right now. I think we are past the point where you can get rid of during these uncertain times, or the sappy part of this, and move on. Like, people want to know that, hey, we're back in business. We're here for you. And obviously things have changed. So you need to communicate how these things have changed. Let people know how you do business and how you can make them feel comfortable doing business with you. But utilize these platforms, these free platforms, social media, email marketing, reaching out to your existing contact base, video conferencing, things like this. Utilize these free platforms to get your message out. That's my big suggestions for these times.
Mine would be to stay versatile and don't get stuck in a rut. If something's not working, change it and keep moving. If anything tests your ambition, it's a scenario like this. And if you can get through this and survive, then you're going to be way ahead.
Michael?
Those are both good ones. I like those. Communicate and be versatile. I guess I would say watch your costs. make sure you don't have too many fixed costs. Definitely communicate is huge. We've definitely been doing a lot of the things that AJ suggested, sending out text messages to our customers and to our database, letting people know what we do during these times to keep people safe. Email marketing, putting up FAQs on our website and things of that. So I think that's huge. And stay positive. Look for opportunity, and that's a big one. Look for opportunity and try to come from a place of service. What can I do to help? And ask yourself the right questions, and the right answers will manifest.
Yeah, for those of you who still feel struggle right now, I encourage you to pick up the phone. Look at your client list from the past couple of years. Talk to people. People actually wanted to talk to other human beings right now, and be their resource. Don't just sell them, and to see from your network of people that how can you help them. Obviously they have been your client, so they see something in you to do business with you before. Right now, it's the best time to reach out to old contacts and make new resource for them. Thank you so much, Guy. We had a lot of fun. The time went by really fast, and if you guys like, I would love to have the discussion with all of you again.
Yeah,
Cool.
would love that.
Cool.
Thanks very
for
much,
having
Swire.
us,
Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
Dan, AJ,
for having us.
good seeing you.
I know.